Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
You are listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you were born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. So welcome to the show. We have a wonderful guest, Susan Ortolano. She will share her insights about empaths and relationships. If you're a sensitive person or you pick up on energy, and you want to have happy relationships, then if you're like me, whatever insights there are, however you can change your frame of mind is so important. And Susan is going to tell us how to receive the love that we deserve. So let me tell you about Susan, and then we'll go into a place of creating higher vibrations. Susan Ortolano is an intuitive life and relationship coach, as well as a professional certified coach who specializes in working with soul-centered and spiritually minded single women and couples to help them attract, create, and thrive in epic conscious relationships. It's Susan's greatest joy to help these women and couples thrive using her unique conscious soulmate coaching system. With a master's degree in spiritual psychology and 30 years of intuitive and psychic readings, Susan combines spiritual and metaphysical principles with mastery of traditional skills needed for a relationship to flourish. She loves seeing her clients attract and experience their own great love story. On a personal level, Susan fell into most of the love traps and bad patterns that she talks about. After a failed marriage, a broken engagement, and a world of pain, she was inspired to create her own system to break free from her past patterns, and has been happily married to the great conscious love of her life, Rick, since 2001. What a beautiful story, Susan.
Oh, thank you, Julia, and thank you for having me.
It's a joy. So tell us a little bit about empaths. So for people who are not sure if they are one or not, overall, I tend to see them as sensitive, gifted, and emotional individuals who also see and feel the unseen world more than other people, but sometimes more than they even know.
I would definitely agree with you, and I think you and I both know that level of sensitivity is not just, oh my gosh, I'm sensitive, because I walked outside and it was cold, or somebody said boo and I got a little startled. The sensitivity runs really, really deep to the point where we are tapped into the energy of the world, the energy of other people, the pain people feel, and we're very sensitive to harsh words, sounds, loud noises, bright lights, those animal commercials on TV that, talk about all the sad animals that need to be adopted, and certainly we're sensitive to the news, among so many other things like violence and things that would have our system, which is wired differently, react. And that's such a brief overview of it. But when you talk about, the high vibe, and that's what part of this show is about, our vibration is everything when we are empaths. We live on feeling and emotion and vibration. And so when something feels off and has a vibration that is, we'll say not so high, we feel it.
Mm-hmm.
We feel it.
Get really overwhelmed when there are too many of those.
Absolutely. And having sensitivity, being around a lot of people, being in crowds. And so there's just so many things we could go into, but most people will identify because they feel some of these experiences they've had, that they even, get very intuitive and pick up on information about other people. They will feel people's energy. And, the gifted part, as you talked about, is that really cool intuition and the level of compassion we have as empaths.
Right. So I'm an empath, and my parents were too. And my experience growing up was that when life was good and they were happy, their energy was just amazing. It was like living in a movie or something. Mm-hmm. But it also went the other way, and it would get very dramatic when their energy was low or when they were upset. Is this something that you see?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's like when sensitive, and empathic women tend to be more, when they're aware, tend to be more spiritually minded women. It is, especially in relationship, one partner can come home. For example, my husband works for hospice. He's an empath as well. So he works with people who are dying and their families. So if he didn't know how to work through the experiences he has and the feelings that he picks up because he's around death, dying, and grief all the time, he would come home and I would feel it.
Right.
And so it is something that we have to be aware of. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's some heavy work.
Yeah. So I think that maybe this is part of what you do, is to help people move out of these extreme feelings and behavior.
Absolutely, when it comes to relationship. Yeah, it definitely is. And it's like, it's not that non-empathic people don't come to me, but I really specialize in working with the more soul-centered, the more empathic, the more spiritually minded. And often they may find themselves getting into some, I like to put them in 3 different categories of tendencies when it comes to romantic relationships and often friendships as well. But I want to focus on the romantic relationship part because I know so many empaths just really have so much love to give, much love to give, and there's so much compassion there and, so much to offer somebody, yet so many fall into these really bad patterns and issues and tendencies, and that was sort of my story as well. So if you're open for me to share kind of the 3 categories that empaths tend to fall into.
Sure, the 3 categories.
Yeah. The first one is the over-giving, over-accommodating, self-sacrificing, settling sufferer. And that is
somewhat familiar.
Really, it's like, no, I have no idea what that's about. We make others more important and tend to undermine ourselves and our own needs. And this is the type of empath that tends to attract the harsh person or the narcissistic type person and tends to put their feelings before themselves. And certainly there are some self-worth issues there as well, but it's all about accommodating and pleasing somebody else in order to guarantee that they're going to feel loved. So that's category number 1. Category number 2, and some people might go, what is the controlling, fixing, and parenting mode? Where, as empaths, we have distinct needs and we often feel we don't get them met. And a lot of us, you had empathic parents, I had, well-meaning but non-empathic parents. And so a lot of us grow up not getting our needs met because parents or whoever raised us don't really understand our sensitivity. But we feel the pain of others. We also feel the potential. And so because we didn't get our needs met, we often get into wanting to control, wanting to, fix somebody up who looks like a fixer-upper, and I hate to say that about anybody. And then sometimes we step into a more parenting role because we see that potential, we feel their pain, we see their pain, and we want to help. And we think that if we give our love and compassion to them, we can raise them up to that potential and raise them out of pain. Mm-hmm. And then we get lost in the process. So that's category 2. Category 3, and some people might go, what is the overly independent empath? Because while we recharge by being alone, we get really re-energized without people, and we need our alone time because we take on so much energy. We often didn't get the care and nurturing, again, as we needed as kids. So we had to start doing for ourselves and meeting our own unique needs. And so we often pride ourselves on not needing anybody, being super independent, and, being able to really take care of ourselves. So that makes us, attract people who are, where we put our hands up and just, it's safer to be alone. It's safer to run from intimacy. We get into perfectionism, which is almost a guarantee that nobody will ever meet those standards, or that we'll never find ourselves perfect enough to participate in a relationship. So it's really about putting that hand up and saying, I can't, and staying in that overly independent space, because honestly, it's really about trust. We just don't trust that anybody's going to really care.
We learn all these things in childhood because
isn't it amazing that all that comes in?
Because every empath I've ever known, without meaning to, whenever anything is wrong, they'll send a huge wave of energy at it. Because we learn by the time we're 4 or 5, if you send a big wave of energy, everyone will be happier and nicer, at least for a little while. And you won't be in that terrible state of overwhelm.
Yeah.
And then the independent part is sometimes the only way you can get away from these people who've become dependent on your energy.
Yeah, and also it really, there's some kind of pride that goes with it. It's like, wow, I was really able to raise myself up and take care of myself when my family wasn't there for me and not meeting my unique needs. So I don't really trust anybody to really be there for me. So I got to keep some kind of wall up.
Because I've done all of these, I can freely say it's sort of a control trap, because you say you want to be alone and you don't need the help. And then when you need the help, the other person is so accustomed to your independence that they don't offer. And then you think, oh, they're just a terrible person. They don't care about me.
Yeah, they're terrible. And it's like, why not? And so it's like, these are the 3 main categories that empathic women tend to fall into. When
it's really the only control you have over your reality as a child.
And it's like, as a child, it is normal to not feel like you have any control. But again, empaths have very unique needs as children. And a lot of parents, your parents, you had, yes, you felt the wave of energy in both directions, but you had parents who had an understanding of those unique needs. And a lot of empaths don't. And so parents will parent in, the way they feel is best. And that doesn't always honor the sensitivity of the empath.
No, or in my case, they wanted my energy because it made them feel better. And
feel better, yes. There's that too, where it's like you can be the family sponge where everybody dumps their stuff and be the tank of fuel that the family needs for nurturing. Yeah. And it's so hard on a child. And then it becomes a pattern as an adult.
Well, particularly when you're older and you want more of a life than just giving to your family.
Yeah, absolutely. The teen years are very confusing.
Yeah, that was the worst.
It's really kind of like, wait a second. Yes, now I'm a little more independent from my family, but gosh, in school they're even treating me a particular way and they want my energy and I can feel their pain, and that's very confusing because schools are not set up to honor sensitive people.
Definitely not. But this is just wonderful because you have so clearly delineated all of this. So
thank you.
We are talking with Susan Ortolano about relationships and the empath. We just talked about the 3 main categories, which if you're an empath, you will certainly get. You can find Susan at www.susanortolano.com. And when we come back, we'll talk about love traps for empaths and how to change them. So let's go to break now.
Transition, simultaneously the most difficult and vital part of the human experience. Without change, how would we grow? Tune in to Grounding into Your Radiance with Stacey Barber every second and fourth Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Step into your truth and allow the light into your life. For more information about Stacey and her services, visit StaceyBarber.com. That's Stacey, STACIE Barber.com.
Tired of not losing the weight? You need a healthy solution for weight loss that protects your muscle mass as the fat burns away naturally. Holistic Medical Center has the healthy option for your weight loss concerns. Lose 1 to 3 pounds per day in 21 days, naturally, under our physician supervision. Call Holistic Medical Center 425-451-0404 or on the web, drdarvish.com, drdarvish.com.
When was the last time you had that feeling that you knew something, but you couldn't explain how you knew it? How powerful would it be for your life and business if you could consciously tap into that magic within you? What if you could remember that there's something supernatural about you? Tune in to Absolute Alignment with Christelle Biga when success feels easy. Every first and third Friday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Your favorite Transformation Talk radio shows are now on Spotify. What? Simply search out your favorite host or show by name, tap the subscribe button, and boom! With over 150 million active monthly users on Spotify, Transformation Talk Radio is thrilled to expand our reach so you never have to miss an episode. Well, what the heck are you waiting for? Log into Spotify and subscribe now.
Is your mind running the show with thoughts bouncing around your cranium like a jet-propelled ping pong ball? You can't focus or relax. Quieting your mind is key to having a sense of inner peace and to being able to access your inner wisdom. So how can you quiet that racing mind? Just breathe. Sit with eyes closed and breathe in slowly, filling your lungs to capacity. Then gently and fully exhale. Repeat 10 or more times. I assure you at the end of this exercise, your mind will have slowed and your body relaxed. You'll be better able to access your inner wisdom, guiding your personal evolution to becoming your highest and best self. I'm Carrie Kadombi, and I'd love for you to join me on Transformation Talk Radio for my show, A Spirited Exchange. For more information about me, visit my website, thedivineguidancegift.com.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin at OneTrueSelf.com, ONETrueSelf.com, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio, where you can experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. We're talking with Susan Ortolano about love, empaths, and creating better, loving relationships. So stay tuned. It's important information. So, Susan, you were telling us about the 3 groups of people, and we had what? The overgiver, the controlling or fixing.
Yeah, the accommodating.
Overly independent.
The overly independent, yeah. Yeah, and inside of those categories, there are little archetypes that I like to call the love trap archetypes. Yeah. And, I put them into categories. It's just a lot easier because I put everything into 10 archetypes. It's easier to say, there's 3 different categories, but inside of those, there are several kind of subtypes or archetypes. And these are the archetypes that empathic, more spiritually soul-centered minded women tend to fall into, not meaning to. That tends to block them from having the epic, conscious, high vibe type of love relationship that they want, because honestly, if you think about it, ordinary relationships just don't do it for us. We're looking for something deeper. We're looking for something more than just a surface type relationship. or the two cars, the jobs, the 2.5 kids. We're looking for something more.
I think there has to be a psychic connection for empaths for it to work.
Very much so. Very much so. And if somebody doesn't feel that, chemistry is really seductive. When you feel chemistry with somebody, sexual attraction, it's very seductive, and it can be mistaken for that higher vibrational frequency, spiritual, psychic connection that you're talking about. And sometimes, if you've got all of that, that's wonderful. If you don't have the psychic, spiritual, high vibe connection with that frequency, it may not work out for empaths, because we just need all of it.
Well, and I think empaths, to be balanced and to be happy, you have to work on where you're off with your vibrations and changing as a human being. And if you're with someone who doesn't want to grow in that way, it gets lonely pretty fast.
Very much so. And then it becomes, the gap just gets too big and people can no longer really connect.
I agree.
Yeah.
So tell us about the 10 types or subtypes.
Well, the subtypes, when I talk about the overgiving, under that particular type, we've got, I call it there's the clinger. And the clinger has overgiven, but hasn't been in the receiving mode. So she wants to kind of cling, hoping that she gets the love that she desires. And it's like, none of this is meant for anybody to feel bad, to have a label. This is just a tendency. It's not the truth of who anybody is. But a clinger tends to seek the validation from somebody because she's given so much that, the other person hasn't given back. And so there's a tendency to get a little grabby with people. And it really kind of allows somebody to lose their energetic power because they're not filling their own cup with the self-love. They've given it all away to the other person, and then they wait a second, and then they grab. But what this person is really looking for is deep connection and reciprocity. And it just sort of comes out in a more clingy way. And it's like, on the good news is connection and reciprocity is beautiful. And you as an empath are somebody who loves so deeply, so vulnerably, and wants that mutual, reciprocal connection with somebody. It's like you're the type of empath who likes to be close and intimate, who likes to share beyond what I mentioned before, a surface level with a partner, be each other's best friend. But that reciprocity, that connection is essential and is magical. And if not there for this particular archetype, that person's going to want to grab for it. And that's going to have the other person kind of try to run away. And perhaps, they didn't get enough closeness and affection growing up, watched parents who may not have had the best connection in their own relationship, certainly not towards, you, the empath. So when there's not enough affection or connection in those early years, it's easy to give it away as an empath, but then try to grab for it as we get older. So this is really about
not knowing how to ask for it either.
I mean,
that's an important thing.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the tendency for that type. And then we have the fixer. And there's nothing an empath likes better than a fixer-upper because we're just so, we love seeing potential. We can feel it. We can see it. We want to bring people up. We want to help them raise their own vibration and step into the person we know they can be. And so they feel like a fixer-upper. And if we just bring our amazing, beautiful, caring, loving energy out, our creative ideas, and we are very creative beings, and our beautiful light, we think we can bring out the best in somebody. And we think they can step up into their potential and really achieve it. It's like, it wipes our energy out. And I tell women who really fall into this, you're not getting paid to upgrade somebody. It's not up to us. It's the reciprocity, the mutuality is more important. And so the alignment's going to be off if you're waiting for somebody to grow and trying to, fix them up or have them be who you need them to be because you just see all the goodness in them. Now, what this archetype is really looking for is equality, alignment, and a real masculine-feminine balance, because a woman who attracts a fixer-upper can easily step into the masculine to do it.
Oh, fascinating. I can see that, though.
And so, we want real partnership, equal partnership, and really not interested in necessarily playing a traditional role. It's just about sharing. It's about flow back and forth. It's about alignment where there's respect and dignity, and nobody looks down at femininity, and you can wear your masculine energy at some points and wear your feminine energy at other points, where you have that beautiful balance, and so does the other person. And certainly, how people get there is, again, you feel somebody else's greatness, you may not see it in yourself. So you're tapping into how great they can be. And you think, if we compare it to a house, well, with a little paint, a little floor wax, and some new windows, this fixer-upper can get to a really great, place.
Well, having been there, I can certainly say that what helped me was to realize that maybe what I was projecting was against the other person's free will. That even if they had all that, maybe they didn't want to become that person. And if that was true, I was projecting a desire into the universe that wasn't aligned with anyone except my own fantasy.
Yes. And your own really true desire was to have that equality and that flow, that, that back and forth alignment. Yep. And so, it is, yes, it's a little strange for us to think that we can decide what somebody wants. And like you said, if they don't want to step up into their own potential or grow into the higher vibrational space that we feel we're in or we think they can be, we're not doing ourselves or them a service.
I agree.
Yeah.
So what is our next prototype?
Oh, this one gets into, we're still under that category, the settler. And the settler is interesting because this is when we get a little bit impatient. We think the clock is ticking, or we feel the clock is ticking if somebody wants to have kids, or there's some story that you have to be married or be in a committed relationship by a certain age. Maybe there's pressure from family, or maybe there are siblings and friends who have already, gotten there. And so this is a person with who needs to work on self-worth and settles for somebody who may be an almost but not quite. And it doesn't mean that they're less than. It just means they're, in terms of a fit or a match, they're close, but they're not quite it. And the person doesn't really meet their needs or standards, and they may not even have the best connection and chemistry, but this person doesn't want to be alone and doesn't trust the waiting, and may want children and see a clock ticking and be afraid that there's nobody else out there that will really fit the bill. So it's like, I might as well go with this person.
I have certainly seen that. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know anything about any of these.
It's like after they have the children, then they're not happy with the marriage anymore because the clock is turned off. Yes.
And that becomes a whole different issue too. But this archetype is really looking for, we're all looking for love, but this person is looking for that, that real deep love, that family, and the belonging. And so this is the craving of the idea of that love and that family energy, and not wanting to let life go by without it, or not wanting to be 46 years old, finally meeting somebody. And, there's certainly beauty in the intention to want that love and that family and belonging and want kids. And certainly there's a reality of a biological window getting smaller. But at the same time, you don't want to be with somebody who only meets your needs in a small way. It's worth the wait. It is worth the wait.
It's beautifully said, and we're going to come back in just a minute and talk more about this. Susan Ortolano has been telling us about love prototypes, what they are, how you get engaged with them, and we'll talk more about that, and how to create the love you want and to get through these blocks when we come back. So stay with us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Imagine starting your week off with a teaching, a clearing, and an activation direct from the God consciousness. If you would like to feel more in charge of your week ahead, then I personally invite you to join me, Tracy L. Clark, for our monthly Soul Sunday non-denominational service at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, online or in person. All donations for this event go to the TLC Initiative Fund to help those in need. Sign up now at tracylclark.com and let's connect together in the glory realm.
Listen up. The wealth you receive is a result of your personal relationship with the soul of money, meaning your spiritual well-being affects your ability to create abundance. Jennifer Bloom works with people to mend the spiritual disconnects that block up the cash flow. How's your relationship with yourself? Are you in balance with the divine? I know, these are big questions, but there are answers. Take Jennifer's free money relationship quiz to learn where you need to focus your energy and watch yourself grow into the abundance you deserve. Trust the divine. Learn to receive. You are worthy of all the wealth you seek. Visit jenniferbloom.com and click on the purple banner to take the free money relationship quiz. That's Jennifer Bloom, BLOOME.com.
Are you one of the many women in the world who've carried the burdens of work and family with the added circumstance of the pandemic? You are not alone. Join Mary Rose Campbell with 5 other powerful women on Saturday, December 5th, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, for the International Conference on Resilience for Women, as they share what they've learned to create power for themselves under any circumstance. Get your tickets now at resilientwomensconference.com.
Hello, friends. I am Terry J. Walker with the I Am Power Hour, and here is your soul-stretching success tip of the day. 2 very important and life-changing words. I am. I have an alphabet game I wanted to share with you today. Start with the letter A and come up with as many positive words as you can think of and place those affirmative I am words before them. For example, I am abundant. Move to the letter B and do the same thing. I am beautiful, and so on. This requires you to actually focus on coming up with positive words and learn to state your affirmations with conviction, validation, and focus. Begin to say them numerous times a day. Learn to say them with feeling and belief, and you will begin to see your confidence, your focus, and your self-worth evolve. Hope you have a beautiful, successful day, and I'll see you next time.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin at OneTrueSelf.com, ONETrueSelf.com, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio, where you can experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. We're talking with Susan Ortolano about empaths, love archetypes, and how to get through these things, these archetypes and these ways that we get stuck in life, to really become more of yourself, to get into a higher vibration and create the love that you deserve. So stay with us and learn how to positively shift your life. And Susan, before we go into the other love archetypes, I think you have a link where people can go and do an exercise and find out what type they are. Do you have that link?
I do. And it's what I would encourage people to do is go to susanortolano.com, because they can sign in for it right on the website. They can also go to, it's just such a long link to give out, but it's, I would say go to linktr.ee/Coach Susan Ortolano, and it'll be listed there.
Okay, and I can also post this on Facebook and some other places so they can find it if they see this.
Yeah, going under the Linktree, linktr.ee/Coach Susan Ortolano, it'll give them the link to this. It'll also give them links to other places to find me.
Okay, so take us back into the next archetype.
Yeah, I'm going to go into something under one of the other categories, because this one is so huge. This is called the mama. And it's like, as empaths, of course, we have these really distinct needs, and we, again, feel the pain, of other people. And if somebody has a really sad story, and we just want to take them under our nurturing wing and parent them and make it all better for them, then we start, getting into that mama mode. And, they may not be as mature. Maybe they don't clean up after themselves or don't take care of basics. I have my first husband. He literally did not have a driver's license. Like, he was very anti-society or whatever it was, but it's like he didn't have a lot of basics in place. So not only did I, go into some of these other traps, but I was a mama. And I had to parent him, guide him, and it's like, and I joke saying, you even may need to give somebody a timeout. And the mama gets a little bossy because we're very efficient. We want certain things done. And then attracting romantic partners who seem really great at the beginning, but they're not so strong within themselves, has us become mamas and parent these people. And it's just, we have all this maternal love and this ability to nurture so deeply. But man, if somebody isn't, tending to their basics, we tend to discipline or nag them because it's really frustrating. They've kind of, they may rebel, be a rebellious teenager, or be more childlike. And since we're such a, self-sufficient woman, we get into that mama mode, and with a romantic partner, and that parent-child dynamic just does not work. But what this archetype is really looking for is to be cared for like she can care for somebody. And so, we tend to care for others so much, and being in charge our entire life is just not always how we want to be. We want to have a romantic partner who can step up on their own, stand in their masculine energy, provide and care for us. We want to be in that feminine receiving mode as well. We don't, even being a nurturing parent has a masculine side to it. And so, how we got here, getting into the need to be responsible for ourselves, or we just didn't get as cared for growing up. It's just really hard to trust that somebody will step up and do so. So we attract somebody that we will just have to control and parent. And it's not fun.
And we're doing that because actually we want the same thing in return?
We would like the same thing in return. And we just attract somebody. And again, that sensitive nature, it's like we see somebody who had like a really sad story, and so they just can't tend to their basics. But with our love and care, we can parent them and raise them to be a better person. And then they can take care of us. And it just doesn't really work that way.
No, it doesn't.
No.
So tell us about another archetype.
Oh, the fixer. The fixer. The fixer is, again, and I say, again, no need to feel bad if you're resonating with these. These are tendencies that can be transcended or overcome. But again, the fixer is you're attracting the one with potential. Again, they're a fixer-upper. And we if we can just bring their amazingness up, it'll be a great match. And again, our creative ideas, our light. Did I talk about this one? Yeah, I talked about this one already. Let me go to the other one. I'm like, I just remember talking about this one already.
I was getting like that. This is really familiar.
This sounds really familiar. Here's one from the other category, the over-independent, the perfectionist. Now, the perfectionist is feeling like not only do we have to be perfect in order to have somebody, which does not do us any favors because we're never going to be any standard of perfect. We don't feel good enough. We don't feel lovable enough. Things have to be a perfect way for us to think we're even attractive. But then we attract people who then criticize us because they're going to mirror that belief we have to be perfect. Plus, if we have these really high standards, nobody's going to meet them. So there's this illusion of a need for perfection on both sides, and it doesn't really work because it just keeps people away. Nobody's going to see the real you. You're going to feel really exposed.
Love.
Yeah. And so what this archetype really looks for is acceptance for who we are, reassurance because we love that, kindness from somebody, and praise. And it's like you really want somebody to find you beautiful inside and out. You want somebody who's going to be very reassuring, be very kind, praise you just for being who you are, and be accepted for who you are. And so you can let go of that angst of striving for a level of perfection that doesn't exist. And, just imagine somebody seeing you, loving you, and feeling like you are perfect. And this is somebody who grew up being criticized a lot, not just by parents, but in school, by peers, and the worst is in our own mind. And so we've been so hard on ourselves, and it's been mirrored back to us that our standards for ourselves and other people are so high that they just can't possibly be met, and it just keeps people away.
Or our standards are impossibly high because most of the time people didn't love us in the way that we needed.
Exactly. And I'm all for people having standards. There just comes a point where, it's like you can't, there's only so far you're going to go before you're getting into somebody who doesn't exist.
Right. Or the impossible.
The absolute impossible. And I just guarantee women if they do some of the things that I say in the link that I gave for somebody to sign in to see, take the assessment and see what archetype they most resonate with, there are 2 20-minute training videos explaining all of it and how somebody can get out of these. We also have the loner under that overly independent category. And the loner, of course, kind of speaks for itself. You were very by yourself, growing up. You may have been neglected, ignored, left alone, misunderstood, made fun of because you're so sensitive or maybe very intuitive and had a tendency to shut down rather than risk the scrutiny and criticism of other people. So there's a real fear of connection and intimacy, and that somebody may not even be aware of. So, we rarely give ourselves the opportunity to have anybody even get close to us. So it's easy for loners to push other people away energetically or attract people who try to get us out of our shell or attract people who are just very cold, or think we're cold and aloof when we're not that way at all. So while we get plenty of alone time, we don't want to live on an energetic island of self-isolation,
No.
because that's the ticket to melancholy, and sadness. And so if you're wondering why people don't stick around, living an illusion of safety by trying to keep your walls up isn't going to bring you that love that you secretly really want. And what this type is really looking for is warmth and care and that just acceptance again of being exactly who we are. And while we may be more independent, we do want to be accepted for who we are. We need that warmth and loving energy of a romantic partner and the devotion and care of somebody who still knows how to have us balance that me and we time. We don't want to resist that need.
And I noticed, and I'm going to come back to these archetypes and what to do about them in a moment, but I really liked on your website, you have people creating a spiritual practice, learning to use spiritual laws and principles, and releasing stories.
Yes, that's huge.
And, you have to do those things to develop.
Exactly. And to be
if you're
at
an
that
empath,
frequency. Yeah. And to be at the talk about the high level frequency, you need to be at a particular frequency to receive and the right match for you. And so for people who think, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And just make it about taking action, what online site to go to, we're here during these changing times, and it's like, but there's always changing times in the dating world. But we're here during times where, the options are a little different, and the doing sometimes gets in the way of the being. And so in order for our doing to be effective, we want to work on that internal piece, that spiritual growth, that personal growth, letting go of the trauma and these tendencies so that we're really clear and clean on the inside and we're able to really tap into our magic and our authenticity. so that when we take action, it's really effective.
And I always think too that, when you do these things, it's like manifesting anything. Maybe you meditate on manifesting a job for a month or a relationship, and it happens very quickly. And that's because you've let go of the other information that blocks it.
Right. Absolutely. And for people who feel like they've done a lot of work on the inside, it can be particularly frustrating if there's like one little pebble left in the shoe. And that's
what I say is it can just be 10%, but that 10% is still you.
It's still the block.
Yeah.
It's still the block that's happening. And I know that is one of the most frustrating things for more conscious women, where it's like, wait a second, I have done my inner work, but I still don't have the partnership I want. Well, it means that there's still something stuck in there. And so what I help women do is find it, clear it.
Well, I was going to say that's really for people who are on a higher level. Coaching can help a lot, because
very much
whoever is listening, you already know it's so easy to see what's the matter with other people.
Yes.
It's yourself that you have to work on.
Yeah,
but when someone else who does this can see it pretty quickly, usually.
Very much so. And even for those who will say are newer to this level of awareness, we can accelerate the process, because as a coach, and it's like you're the same way with what you do, having the intuitive energy and being at the level of ability to really tap into somebody, we're able to really go in there really fast and help people identify what's going on and how to clear it at a much more accelerated level. And so even if somebody is new to doing work on themselves in this level of awareness, I welcome those women and, couples who may have the, one's an empath, one's not. How does that couple work together?
That's an interesting paradigm.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
And I've had
getting
those
my head around it.
Yeah, I've had those couples come to me, and it's an interesting dynamic where one has no idea why the other person's so sensitive about things, and they have to learn how to open themselves to more sensitivity, and the empath has to learn how to, let go of some of these archetypes and some of the old trauma.
Right. That's really neat. So for the people who are listening who haven't had a good relationship, I do know that you've had one that can tell you have a loving relationship just from your post on Facebook and your pictures. Yes. Tell them what that feels like.
It is, and I'll start by saying I had the hot mess of a marriage the first time around, and I had a world of pain in relationships because I was embodying I felt like I was such a loving, good person, yet I attracted, so many challenging situations because I was living a lot of these archetypes. And so what I got when I got divorced was that the person who needed to shift was me. It wasn't about him. It was about me. And so I made it my mission to find out what I needed to do on the inside so that I could have better on the outside. And I went into what I call an upgraded relationship, where it's like you don't necessarily always go from 0 to 10. I went from 0 to 6, for the next relationship. That was an engagement that ended. Super nice guy, another empath, but it just wasn't quite right. And so I just made a really strong declaration and got more clear on the type of relationship I wanted and who I needed to be. And I said to myself, I would rather be single than settle. I was willing to be single rather than settle for something that wasn't going to work for me. And I worked very hard on becoming the woman who could attract the man and have the relationship I was looking for. And so I had to create my own system, because there wasn't anything at the time. It was pre-technology, so, we had books. They had the video dating, which I didn't do. But I intuitively, and I have this long story, but I'll make it very short, a grad school program that I had wanted to go to for 9 years, and my intuition kept saying, no, not this year, no, not this year. And in the year 2000, the intuition finally said, yes, it's time. And meanwhile, I had been working on myself. So I, apply, get into this grad school program, and it's a 1 weekend per month format. And I meet this guy. And, I looked at him. Well, first I felt his energy, and that was what drew me to him the most. But we became friends and got to know each other. And he was a more introverted empath and so kind, so sweet, very spiritual. And I didn't know what it was. It's like I was attracted to him physically, but there was something about his energy that just drew me in. And of course, we had chemistry and all that kind of stuff, but we were friends first for about a month until he wrote me a love letter. And I had done a reading for him because he wanted to know when he was going to meet his next wife. He had been married before.
Oh, how fun.
And I was doing the reading, and I was describing myself, and I had no idea. Down to the sound of my first name. Yeah, it's like an S or a C, like a sound. And I'm describing this woman who's about my age, and she's creative and spiritual. And I said, oh my God, she's in our school program. So we literally went down the roster to see who it could possibly be. And I had no idea. And so when this man finally professed his love for me, I was like so excited, but I thought, oh my God, he's going to meet this woman. And so for the next few months, as we were discussing being in relationship, I was so hesitant because I thought, oh gosh, by March 2001, he's going to meet this woman. And so we spent more time talking about being in relationship than actually dating.
Right. That's
and
really
so,
fun.
we spent time together. But
I did that with my job. I kept writing the description of where I would work. And then when I started doing this, it's like, oh my God, that's my living room.
That's my living room. You're right. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But it's like I was dreading that March 2001, and at March 2001 came, we had a school weekend, and on my way home, he called me up and he said, so we going to do this or what? And I knew because we had talked about we weren't just going to be dating, we were going to be getting married. And 2 months later, we eloped.
Oh,
and
that's
that was
fabulous.
20 years ago. Yeah.
Now,
so
something that I love for your manifestation is you were saying you were a woman who could attract a man that you would love. What was that you were saying? I liked that. Your image of yourself.
Oh, that my image of myself had to change.
Right.
You know what I mean? Coming out of that divorce, I had to shift my image.
You were a woman who was worthy of being loved and having a great
I was a woman worthy of being loved. And that is something that empaths struggle with. Other women struggle with that too, but empaths take it to a deeper level. And when I got that, it wasn't about that I had to look like a Hollywood celebrity or that I had to have millions in the bank or, all the things that were programmed in my brain. When I got that, I just had to be me, my authentic self. It just was very graceful and easy. And having somebody who is, some women go for the alpha male, the CEO, the strong, super hyper masculine who can be potentially arrogant. I wanted an alpha beta, and I wanted a man who could step into his masculine energy, but also honor his own sensitivity and have that really good balance. And that's who I attracted. And so as two empaths together, having a beautiful relationship, we also have the skill set. And that's the other piece that goes with it. You attract somebody in, but you have to have the skill set. You have to know how to communicate with somebody. You have to continue to work on yourself and look at your relationship not as just the really fun, romantic, good stuff, but also as an opportunity to grow because you're going to see yourself and see some of the things you still have to let go of, you still have to learn, about, and that relationship really serves that greater purpose as well. But we've just had a beautifully easy time, even though, we have our conflicts, but they're not, sometimes they're so ridiculous, they're laughable. But we've had to learn how the other one receives communication, the love languages, how best to speak into the listening that we both have. Because even though we're both empaths, we're still different people. And then I can go astrology with you on that too.
So you're still learning, but you're basically in a place of ease.
in place of the age where you know you have this beautiful solid foundation with somebody and you are aligned and it is deep and it is that very type of relationship you want, but there's still going to be growth and evolution.
Well, I can feel your happiness. I can feel your happiness when you're talking about it. So that's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And it's I always say if it's possible for me, I believe it's possible for everybody who is committed to having it, who's committed to overcoming the archetypes, who's committed to their own growth. I believe it is available.
Well, we know if you're an empath, you're already awake. So that heightens the possibility.
Some degree of awareness, and that definitely will continue to grow. So it's like, and we're two different types of empaths. And we, it's like, as you know, there are different types of empaths. And so we're two different types of empaths. But our love languages are in the order of the love languages, the Gary Chapman love languages are the same. So there's a lot of alignment there.
That's really beautiful. So I want to thank you so much, Susan, for being with us. Could you share your website so our listeners can find you?
Absolutely. And as I'm speaking, the website hopefully will be up and ready by the time this airs. We're almost there, but SusanOrtolano.com, which I'm sure will be written out, but it's ORTOLANO.com, SusanOrtolano.com. And people can really come into taking this assessment and finding out for themselves and look at the services that I offer. And if they are interested,
thank you so much.
They can follow through with what's listed there.
So everyone who's listening, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter on my website, onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com, and receive tips about developing on a spiritual level in the energetic weather. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening show, where you can experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. Please join me on the second and fourth Wednesdays of every month at 12 noon Eastern, 11 Central, and 9 a.m. Pacific. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next time.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.